Semien is a Met. Nimmo is a Ranger. We have our first blockbuster trade of the Hot Stove League. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On MLB Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to a Locked On MLB, Locked On Texas Rangers crossover. This is the podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and we are now the #1 sports podcasting network. We talk about all of Major League Baseball or all of your 2023 World Series champion Texas Rangers. And today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. You know what you got to do? Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you get $300 of bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today and follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, whatever they're calling it these days. And on Instagram, you can follow me. I'm your pal Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. But do what? I'm not flying solo today. Coming aboard just a day after I was talking about Adolis Garcia's and Josh Spores and Jonah Heim and Daniel Lowe, all these players who are big heroes of the 2023 Texas Rangers Championship are now available. Well, apparently another name has been scrubbed from that list. That's Marcus Semien. But who's not scrubbed from the list? It's Bryce Patrick, the host of Locked On Rangers. And boy, we nearly had an embarrassing situation. I booked the host of Locked On New York Rangers, and he didn't know what I was talking about on this particular day. How you doing, Bryce? Weird couple of days.
It has been a wild couple of days. I mean, I was recording what was supposed to be Monday's show, and then I get the news that Marcus Semien's been traded after I have finished recording. So I'm going to have to add a big old disclaimer onto that whatever day I actually end up posting it. But, it has been a weird few days in Texas Rangers land.
I mean, you were on the show a bunch in 2023 when they won the title, and you were part of my New Year's show where it's a tradition here that if your team wins the World Series, you appear on this show on December 31st to sort of savor the last day of the year your team won. And 2023, they won it all. It was the moment you Ranger fans have been waiting for. It's a moment that Nelson Cruz said, "I'm off the hook." And boy, oh boy, that team didn't stick around long, did it? I mean, it wasn't Miami Marlins or Florida. It wasn't 1997 Florida Marlins level. But here we are. It'll be just the third season after winning the title, and a lot of familiar faces are going to be gone.
Yeah, I was just talking about it on the other day's show. There's only 2 pitchers on that active roster for the World Series that are still around. One of them is Nathan Eovaldi. One of them is Cody Bradford. Bradford missed all of last season, is going to miss all of 2026 with elbow reconstruction surgery. So really only one pitcher. And of that starting lineup, now there's even fewer guys that are left.
Who's left at this point?
It's
Seager is there.
Seager's there. Evan Carter's there.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Young is still there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole starting lineup. That's
you mentioned
still there.
Seager. I think, did we mention Seager?
Yeah.
We mentioned Josh Young.
It's 3. It's Josh Young. It's Corey Seager, and it's Evan Carter. Those are the only 3 starters from that team that are still there. Nathaniel Lowe gone. Jonah Heim gone. Mitch Garver immediately gone. Adolis Garcia gone. Leody Taveras gone. That's like everyone. Josh Smith was on the roster. He barely played at all. Ezekiel Duran was an injury replacement for Adolis Garcia once he went on the IL. He's still around, and Travis Jankowski is back as the first base coach, but he's retired from Major League Baseball actually playing. So it is like a lot of turnover. It's not quite, Miami Marlins turnover, but for how locked in they were supposed to be, like how locked in everybody was supposed to be. I mean, in 2023, the whole thing I spent the entire offseason talking about was like, well, this offense was amazing, and it's going to be this offense for a while because basically everybody was locked down under contract for a long time. Nathaniel Lowe had like 3 more seasons left of club control. Jonah Heim had several more seasons of club control. Marcus Semien, his contract isn't up for another 3 years from now until 2027 is his last year under contract. Seager's going to be another 3 seasons after that. I mean, Jacob deGrom still has several seasons left of club control. Evan Carter was still
Right.
hadn't even eclipsed rookie eligibility at that point, and Wyatt Langford was the next big deal, and he's ended up being great, but still like it's a lot of turnover that was not expected, and Adolis Garcia wasn't supposed to be a free agent until after the 2026 season.
Right.
But it is just a lot of turnover very quickly and a lot of just immediate fall off from the guys that carried this team to the first championship in franchise history.
And Marcus Semien, of course, was a huge part of that. Now, granted, he didn't have the best World Series, but he hit a huge home run, a gigantic home run in the clinching game against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And he didn't have the best postseason that year, but you know what? His arrival on the squad, along with Corey Seager, was a big moment for the Rangers and their fans. That the ownership said, all right, we're sick of this. We're gonna try to actually put a halfway decent product on the field, and you can't argue with the results. I mean, that core of Seager and Semien up the middle really established a team that lost 100 some odd games in 2021 to winning the title in 2023. Having
Yeah.
that stability of two really reliable veterans up the middle was in many ways the first step of saying, "Hey, we're going to try to do something." And bless the Rangers, they had that window of opportunity, and they managed to cash in. It may have only had one trip to the postseason in this stretch, but if you're only going to have one trip to the postseason, you might as well win a title with it.
Yeah, I mean, this was a team that was irrelevant. I mean, the Rangers were great from 2010 to 2016, but from 2017 to 2021, they were a
Terrible.
laughingstock. They
Yeah.
were a joke. They were not only bad, they were boring too. They were not just bad and oh wow, like the Rockies this year, you're like, wow, that's a major calamity. That's something to look at. That's something to marvel at. That's something interesting. The White Sox were, horrendous. It's one
Yeah,
thing to be
fascinating. They
that
were
yeah,
fascinating.
they were interesting. There was something
Yeah.
to talk about, but the Rangers were boring. They were bad. They also had no future. There were no great prospects coming up.
Mhm.
That wave of talent that matriculated up around 2015, 16, the Joey Gallos, the Ruben Odors, the Nomar Mazzaras, like Joey Gallo is the only one that really panned out at all. And they just traded him at the midseason in 2021. They were running a bottom 10-ish payroll at that
Mhm.
point, and they were talking the entirety of that season of look at all these big stars that are going to be free agents in the winter of 2021. We're totally going to get one of those guys. And I was like, you haven't spent money since Shin-Soo Choo, and at
Yeah.
that point 7 years. And credit to them, they did it, but it legitimized them being actual contenders, playing like in free agency, like a team that is a top 5 media market that does have a big fan base, a big area of fans, and a lot of money coming in there that they
Yeah.
were not spending. And since the World Series have not been spending. And this kind of is another move in that direction of, well, I don't know, we're going to blow this up and save a little bit of money, which in the long run, it doesn't seem like they're even saving that much money. It's just kind of a reorganizing
Yeah.
of where things are, and it opens
Yeah.
up a lot more problems too.
In fact, when we come back, I do want to try to make heads or tails out of this trade because I'm not going to lie to you. I am absolutely perplexed. All right, let's hear from our good friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride a hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. That's French for speak for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting. Yes, even with that team, especially when your team's making that late push. So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up, and play today with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. As I've said, it's interesting times to be the official betting partner of the National Basketball Association. Bryce Patrick is here. We're here on the Locked On MLB, Locked On Rangers crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcasting network out there. Um, yeah, first of all, I love the point you made that only in baseball is the Dallas Fort Worth market a small market. Dallas is a huge city with piles of money, and it's considered to be a big giant city so much that they named a freaking television show after it. And only in the baseball universe is Dallas a small market team.
Well, hey,
Only in the
it's not a
baseball.
small market team though. It is not. It is
No, it isn't at
it is
all.
an ownership agenda to make you believe that, oh, we're not the Dodgers, we're not the Yankees, we can't spend any money at all. It is driving me insane. I literally did a whole episode about it a couple weeks ago of going through and looking at the map of where Rangers games are broadcast. And on television, they are in 5 states, the entirety of 4 states: Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, and big chunks of New Mexico. And
Yeah.
it is about 10% of the entire nation's population that has access to Rangers games through their local broadcast, through either the Victory Plus, the streaming app, that's $20 a month, or, actual television broadcasts.
Right.
It is not a small market. It drives me insane that this billionaire ownership group is like, oh no, we poor, we can't spend. Yes, you can. You took all of that money that you got from the World Series, and immediately, not even 2 weeks later, everyone was crying, hey, can we sign Jordan Montgomery, the guy who got us our first World Series championship, who was, the co-ace next to Nathan Eovaldi during that championship run? And immediately it was like, ooh, I don't know about that. We no money. Here, also spend $100 on a sweatshirt and spend, I don't even remember how much this was, like $40 or whatever, for a little plastic trophy to remember the greatest moment in my baseballing life. And all of that money went right into the pocket of the owner, who immediately cried poor and did the same thing. Even when he run out of the excuses of, oh, we had to deal with Bally. Oh, we had to deal with the Fox Sports Southwest, FanDuel Sports Southwest, whatever sports Southwest regional sports network they were. And they bought their own sports network, the Rangers Sports Network that they own. And they don't have that excuse anymore. But now they're crying poorer than ever, and they're going to slash maybe 20, 30% off of what the payroll was last year and try and say, oh no, we've never had any money to spend. It drives me absolutely bonkers.
This is probably why Bochy left. I'm guessing he kind of read the writing on the wall. I mean, I'm sure there are other issues.
I think so. I really think so. I think part of it was they needed a new voice in there. They genuinely, I think, needed someone else in there to kind of give the veterans more of a kick in the pants than Bochy would. Bochy trusts the veterans sometimes to a fault, and he's the greatest manager of all time. And I love him, and I will always love Bruce Bochy, because without Bruce Bochy, the Rangers do not get to October. They do not get through October. They don't get through that first. They get swept by the Rays if I think anybody else is managing them but Bruce Bochy in that wild card series.
And he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He came in and he said, we're going to hand you this team. And think about the great run. And we're going to get to the trade in a second. Don't worry, folks. But think about the great run they had in the early 2010s, where they won a pair of pennants, a couple, trip to the wild card, a couple more division titles. And yes, two of the biggest heartbreaking games in Ranger history, the game 6 against St. Louis and the bat flip game. But the beauty of winning a title is all that gets wiped away. But think about that run. That's a sustained run between 2000 and 2016, with the exception of
2014.
2013, they lost the tiebreaker game, and they didn't really contend in 2014.
Well, everybody was hurt and everything was terrible in 2014.
Right. But that's a good long stretch, including a couple of trips to the World Series and being a really exciting team. And compare that to the stretch they had this year, where they got to the playoffs once, and yet the time they won it all. So what is the greatest run in Ranger? What is the run that you're going to remember your whole life? Is probably winning that game 7 in Houston more than anything. Yes, I know the walk-off home run in game 1 and Josh Sborz getting the call third was all amazing, but going back and winning those 2 games in Houston, I'm guessing were probably the proverbial icing on the cake right there.
I mean, there was a lot more stakes in that ALCS, because I don't know any Diamondbacks fan outside of Millard Thomas. So shout out
Yeah.
Millard Thomas, the late great. But there were not a whole bunch of people in my life.
Oh, Millard is not dead. Millard
I
is not dead. Just so I want to end a rumor right now. I know he's no longer the host, and I adore you, Millard, but you're still with us.
I
So
appreciate you clarifying that for
yeah,
those who
it's how
don't
rumors
get,
get
who
started.
aren't
We're
in
the
on the
number one
bit.
sports podcast network. Who knows how long our tentacles are going to will be? Not a lot of news in the news cycle these days.
But there are a lot of Houston Astros fans in my life who
I
I
bet.
would have literally never heard the end of it for the rest of my existence had the Rangers not won that Silver Boot ALCS series. But
All right, let's get to this trade here, because this trade is really, I find it to be a very strange trade, because based upon non-tendering um Heim and Garcia and Spores and whomever else they non-tendered.
Jacob Webb is the only
Oh,
other
yeah,
one.
I knew there was another one there. Forgive me, I didn't remember. Um, there is When I first heard that Semien was traded to the Mets, my first thought was, oh, so it was probably a salary dump. They're probably going to get like a couple of minor leaguers, and then I saw it was for Nimmo, and all of a sudden my take on the trade got a little stranger. I immediately watched SNY to get a couple of the Mets takes, and then I watched Jacob on Locked On Mets, and then I watched you on Locked On Rangers because you both did live shows. Um, I I can kind of understand why the Mets did this, but I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around it. I do understand to a degree why the Rangers did this, but it seems to be spitting in the face of them tearing the team down.
It's if I were to break it down to its basest like reasoning, it's
Hmm.
kind of trading defense for offense. Marcus
Right?
Semien, still a valuable player, not the offensive player he was in 23 or in
No.
years prior. Not horrendous. Like I think he gets made out to be. Like, same with Adolis Garcia. I think both those guys got a lot more shtick than they deserve. They weren't what the Rangers needed them to be. They weren't what
Mm.
they were in 2023. And them not being that was a big part of why the Rangers have failed the last two seasons.
Yeah.
But they're still both elite defensive player. I mean, Marcus Semien just won a Gold Glove this year, and I really do think Adolis Garcia should have won a Gold Glove this year over Willie Abreu. A great defensive player in right field for the Red Sox. It's a toss-up. Like in another average year, I think Adolis wins it. Willie had a great year, and so it's a real toss-up.
Ironically, if Garcia had a better offensive season, he probably would have won the Gold Glove. That's the way the Gold Glove wins.
Ironically, yeah, it is just such a weird and goofy award, but the Rangers needed more just at least okay bats in their lineup. They had kind of three. Evan Carter was good when he was there, but he missed a
Right.
lot of the season with a little bit of back injuries early on in the season, then got healthy, and ironically, a hit by pitch on the same day, the same game within a couple innings. Both Marcus Semien and Evan Carter went down for the season. Evan Carter got hit in the wrist by a lefty.
Oh, I
And
forgot about that. I totally
mhm.
forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was in that middle. It was in Kansas City, and then
Mhm.
Marcus Semien fouled the ball off his foot, broke his foot, stayed in the game for like three more innings, and then
Right.
got taken out. And had the Rangers been in contention for those last couple weeks, last month, maybe Simeon's back at some point during the regular season. Same with Corey. It was within the span of like 10 days. Nathan Eovaldi had the rotator cuff injury. Corey Seager had a random appendectomy. Marcus Semien got hurt out of
I
nowhere. Evan
forgot
Carter
all
got
about
hurt.
this. Yeah.
All of that within like a 10-day span, Sully. All of that. And still the Rangers held on for another couple of weeks
Yeah.
because of these random scrappy Ranger kiddos that came in and made the difference, like Alejandro Ozuna, like a little bit of Cody Freeman, Michael Hellman as well. Like it was the Little Rascal Rangers, as they were calling themselves. So, but it's basically an offense for defense swap. Nimmo is kind of fine. He's going to plug in there more in right field in the corner, where Adolis was a little bit below average offensive player. Nimmo's a little bit above average offensive player. He's not a huge drop off defensively. He's not going to be good, but he's not going to be
Right.
horrible. And it's just another bat in this lineup to go along with the other good bats in this lineup, which are basically Evan Carter, White Langford, and Corey Seager at this point. Other guys have some potential in there in Jake Berger and a little bit of Josh Young. It was a tough year for him. Maybe Jock Peterson goes back to being a decent hitter as opposed to the worst hitter in baseball for the vast majority of the season. Like that
Yeah.
was just a really weird turn. that I thought was the Rangers shoring up their biggest hole, and a guy who had been a consistent hitter for a decade and then comes in and out of nowhere has the worst season he's ever had.
But hit that game-tying home run off of Williams in the series against the Yankees.
Yep.
And remember, that was in July when the Rangers were chipping away. They actually, for a couple of days in July, they were tied for a wild card spot. And as late as September 6th, they were one game out of a playoff spot. So,
Mhm.
this was such a surreal year for someone. I'm assuming for you. For me, growing up, the Rangers, ever since I was young, the Rangers have never had a lack of offense. And they always had wonderful hitters on their team, but it was always their pitching that was their undoing because they played outdoors in a barbecue.
A
And
beautiful barbecue,
a
which I
beautiful
miss.
barbecue. I went to that. I've been to the old ballpark in Arlington. I've been there.
It's gorgeous.
It was it was absolutely glorious, and I wish they could have. When they built the new ballpark, I wish they could dynamite around the old ballpark, pick it up, move it to Oakland, put that in the parking lot of the Coliseum, and have the A's
Don't,
play there.
don't do
That would.
that to my beautiful. Don't ruin it with John Fisher being attached
I
to
just
it.
look at they're playing in Sacramento. Okay, jeez, but this year their pitching was good. They
Their
had good
pitching was the
pitching.
best in baseball. It was
Yes, it
the
was.
best
But
ERA in baseball. It was
yeah,
incredible rotation of DeGrom, and they got something out of Patrick Corbin. Jack Leiter was amazing down the
hmm
stretch. Tyler Mahle was incredible. Rocker had his moments. Nathan Eovaldi was the most underrated pitcher in all of baseball this year. I know you know how
why
incredible
can't the
Nathan
Red Sox
Eovaldi
get
is.
players like him? Why can't the
That
Red
would
Sox have?
be that would be
That would be
a
amazing to
huge
see
boom
someone
for
like Nathan
them. But
Eovaldi in a Red Sox
you
uniform.
would never see that though. It
That
just
wouldn't.
it couldn't
It'd be
happen ever.
like Mookie Betts or something like that.
That's
Talk
just
about
mean.
blowing up a World Series champion. But
At least it's not that. Not
yeah, it's
yet.
like yeah,
I
it's
don't.
but
There's been some rumorings about a Corey Seager trade or a Jacob DeGrom trade. And I don't think that can happen. I don't think it will happen because the Rangers would just be getting, like a Mookie Betts deal. They would be getting pennies on the dollar because it would
right.
basically be a salary dump. And I think Chris Young, the Rangers president of baseball operations, can talk to his owner and say, "Hey, you see what happened across town when the Mavericks traded Luka Doncic?
Oh,
How the
jeez.
fans for 9 months were screaming and crying and chanting to sell the team and to fire the GM for months and months and months, and probably will still for years to come have this undying resentment for the people who made that happen. Don't let that be you, because those are those same people, and they will have that same reaction, maybe even more so, because Corey Seager actually brought a championship to this city, something that Luka Doncic did not yet do. I think eventually would have, but to that point, I think you can very easily say, hey, don't be like those guys. It's not going to go well for you.
When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that I do think the Rangers have hope coming into this next year, and I'm also trying to understand the deal from the Mets' perspective. Hey, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. And if we're not your first listen, make sure Locked On Rangers is your first listen because we are both part of, say it with me, the
The
number
number
one
one sports
sports
podcast
podcasting
network.
network. Um,
Nailed it.
the Mets have had a history of acquiring very good middle infielders at the end of their career or getting them when they're on the downside. Marcus Semien is still a elite defensive second baseman, and we do know. And Semien, I'm a big fan of Semien. I remember I was following a lot of A's games when he was with the A's, and he was just beloved on that A's team and did huge hit after huge hit. Got big hits with Toronto. He was a great pickup when they got him from the Blue Jays, and obviously was part of the rejuvenation there. But he's going to be 35, and the days of 35-year-olds suddenly becoming better kind of ended sometime in the mid 2000s. I don't know what they started in the mid 2000s. Something I can't figure it out, and maybe someone will do a study on that. But the thing that's a little alarming if you're a Met fan about acquiring Semien, who again is going to shore up their defense and give them another right-handed bat because that is a very left-handed bat, uh, uh, left-handed heavy lineup. But like for the first time in his career, Semien missed a significant number of games. He's been in. I mean, he's not Cal Ripken, but over his
He was
career,
pretty close for a
he's pretty
stretch.
close. I mean, he's been someone you can rely on. But in 2019, 2021, 2022, and 2023, he led the league in games and plate appearances. And he played in 53 games in the COVID year. But most years he's going to play 150 some odd games. He got hurt in 2017, and he missed like 3 games in 2024. But last year he missed like 40 some odd, nearly 40 games, and his production went down. And granted, his contract is shorter than Nimmo's, so I think that's one of those things. The annual value is better for the Rangers with Nimmo. It's fewer years. New York's going to have for fewer years. All that's good. And did I mention fine? But I'm looking at him going like, wait a minute. He's going to be 35, and he's showing he's no longer has the actually he already is 35, and he doesn't have the power that he used to have, and his production went down dramatically. Did the Rangers make the deal at the right time? Because I still think Nimmo's going to be a productive hitter for the next couple of years. And did the Mets acquire him at the wrong time of his career?
See, I don't know that they did. I think the thing about Marcus Semien that I think most people don't know is how good a care he takes of his body. I mean, this is a guy who is just incredibly meticulous at the, routine care and maintenance of his body. It has been for years. That's why the Rangers felt comfortable giving him a longer contract than I think most people did, of signing him to a 7-year deal when he was heading into his age 31 season. The Rangers knew eventually. I mean, that's just how free agent contracts work. I mean, you buy for the front end years, and for those front end years, he was a 5-6 win player. I mean, he averaged a 5-win season with the Rangers. I mean, he was truly incredible. He's an all-star 2 out of the 4 seasons. He was here as a Gold Glover, or should have been a Gold Glover 2 out of the 4 seasons he was here, and he won a Silver Slugger. And I think he's going to bounce back. Expecting him to be the 30 to 40 homer hitter that he was from around 2019 to 2023, I think those days are probably done. But I think the days of him being like a league average to a little bit above league average bat in the lower third of your lineup, hitting 6th or 7th or so, and just kind of deepening out that lineup and providing elite defensive value at a premium position, I think that's still there. I think he could still very much be that. I think he could sign another contract after he's done with the remaining 3 years on this deal. Like, I don't think he's going to just hang it up after the 2028 season. But I mean, I think this is more of the Mets saying, okay, we already have enough players, kind of like Nimmo. We kind of want to shuffle the money around. It's not as much about getting off salary, of just kind of reallocating those dollars. So I think that's what the Mets are seeing. Plus, Marcus Semien is such a great clubhouse guy. I mean, he established that culture. And I mean, bringing on Semien and Seager, like, it legitimized the Rangers as, oh, we're trying to do something. Same with bringing on Bruce Bochy. I think without Bruce Bochy, I don't know if they are able to get those big free agent signings, right, like Jacob deGrom, like Nathan Eovaldi, like Andrew Heaney at the time. Like, I don't think they're able to get those guys and convince them, hey, we are serious about winning. If you convince Bruce Bochy to come out of semi-retirement, not retirement, after 4 years away from the game, I think that really put the Rangers on the map, as well as the 2 signings of Semien and Seager. And it also just kind of sends a bad message to future free agents, if the Rangers are ever going to sign any of those again for big money, of like, hey, yeah, you could be this cornerstone building block. You could win a championship with this team, and then we'll ship you out 2 years later. Like, it's just a really bad look as well.
I think you made a great point. It's funny. I was listening to a couple of the Mets, not only just Ryan on Locked On Mets, but also a couple of people of SNY. We're talking about how they're going to miss, Brandon Nimmo is very popular in the New York Mets organization. He's played 10 years in Queens. And I heard more than one person say, I don't know what this is going to do for the chemistry, what they're doing for the chemistry. And I thought, wait a second. Didn't the Mets have horrible chemistry last year? Haven't the Mets had 2 colossal, disastrous runs in 2021 and 2025 where he was a key member of both of those teams? I'm not saying it was his fault, but it's not like they found the recipe. I mean, and Marcus Semien, as I said, I was in the Bay Area for a chunk of his time when he was with Oakland. You could not have found a more likable and fan-friendly and person that the people in the clubhouse love. That's why John Fisher couldn't wait to get rid of him. and they liked him a lot in Toronto. And obviously, we also saw what happened when he arrived in Texas. So maybe that's part of it. They have to do a culture shift in New
I mean,
York on
he
the
is a
on the
huge
heels of what happened this year.
Yeah, he is a huge culture guy. I mean, Marcus Semien is one of the most respected players in baseball because those guys who will show, like Matt Olson, like Austin Riley, the guys who play every single day, those are the guys that around the league everybody immensely respects, and that's why Marcus Semien has gotten so much love. I really do think that this broken foot. I mean, it happens to anybody. I mean, anybody fouls a ball off their foot the wrong way, and you break several bones in your foot.
Lord knows I
Like
did.
it's gonna take you out, even if you're Cal Ripken. Thankfully
Right.
for Cal Ripken, he didn't have any of that bad injury luck come his way. But, that occasionally happens. And he's a guy who I think will age well, who will age gracefully, even though these last couple of years have been some down years. Maybe some of that has to do with the ball being a little bit deader. I think that's why so much of the Rangers offense just completely dipped off. I think the ball was a little juicier in 2023, and it's been, I think, pretty significantly less juicy in the last couple of seasons. And maybe a little bit of change into the baseballs with the range, whether MLB will actually say they're doing it or not, might help revitalize some of those guys. Same with the Braves lineup that completely fell off a cliff the last couple of years, just really congruent with the Rangers. I think there's a lot of similarities there, but I think Simeon's a guy who could definitely help set that culture. He's not going to be a vocal leader. He is going to be an unvocal leader. Just see what I do, look at what the kind of work and time that I put in to all of my routines of making sure that I'm ready every single day. And that alone drives a lot of respect for Marcus Semien.
Well, the balls may be juicier or not juicier, but it's always juicier when Bryce Patrick is here. There's no trivia question today. Watch tomorrow's show with Javier Reyes, which was supposed to drop today, but then the news of this trade happened and I shifted a few things around. Bryce Patrick, where can people follow your wonderful show?
You can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Range. You can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.
And follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever it's called these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully on Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram. Talking about a culture-driven trade between the Mets and the Rangers, and we'll see who wins it. This has been a Locked On MLB, Locked On Rangers crossover. He's Bryce Patrick. My name is Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.